Megan Hicks of I Run Far. I'm with Jon Albon. It's the day before the 2024 Western States Endurance Run. Jon, hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. We were just talking off camera that you have been to Olympic Valley before to compete in the Spartan World Championships. In what year was that?
It was 4 or 5 years in a row, so
okay.
A few times.
Okay.
So,
well,
but
welcome
that's
back.
More in the autumn. So it's been nice to come in the spring, actually, see the snow melt and sort of experience more of the trails. Because when I've come before, it's been more sort of smash and grab. Whereas now I've been here for a few weeks, so I've got to actually get around and see a little bit.
First things first. I think this is your first 100-mile race, and you have chosen one that, at least from my perspective, is a wee bit different from the races you typically choose. This is a flat, fast, hot 100-mile race. How do you react to those thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's not my first time running 100 miles, because I have done an obstacle race, which was 24 hours. In Vegas, wearing a wetsuit, doing obstacles, and we ran 105 miles, me and Ryan Atkins.
So this is going to be easier. You've already done 100 miles with obstacles.
No, there's never an easy race, because you just end up trying to go faster.
Okay.
So I mean, sometimes I'm torn. What's more painful, 400 meters on a track as fast as you can go, or 100 miles? I think it's just a different sort of pain. This one's going to be a lot sort of more dragged out, but less intense, I guess. So no, it's always going to be a challenge. And yeah, it's not like the sort of race I'm used to. I've never really done a trail race in the States. It's going to be far hotter than I'm used to, net downhill, more like a running stride throughout. So all these things are a little bit new to me. But I mean, it's a challenge, isn't it? And I didn't really choose to come here. Someone said, you want a golden ticket, so do you want to? And I said, yeah, pretty much. Like, why not? Sometimes it's nice to leave it up to the fates, and the fates chose this year for me, and I'm excited. It should be interesting.
Air quotes interesting. I think that's a great way to say that. Let's backtrack in your running year a little bit. You're on a pretty hot streak when it comes to trail ultras. We have a win at Transvolcania a couple of months ago, a win at CCC last year, and then squeezed in between that a win at Les Templiers.
Yeah.
Are you on, is this officially a winning streak right now for trail ultras?
Oh, I don't know, I guess so. I mean, whenever I run, I try and do as best I can, and sometimes that means I can win. And I do feel like I've learned a hell of a lot in the past 12 months. And some of those wins haven't been the easiest, and I haven't been in the shape I've wanted to be in, but I've managed to pull other things out of the bag. So I actually do think that this is going to be in a sort of similar sort of direction to the others. So we'll see how it goes. But I mean, it's been fun. I think ever since I had the foot operation around COVID time, I've really been sort of like laying one block on top of the other and sort of going places, and it's been a lot of fun, and let's just hope I can continue by having a solid race here.
The last couple of weeks you've been in America with the hopes of coming and acclimating to the heat and the altitude. I think America might have had other plans for you. What happened?
Yeah, so I mean, the way I schedule my training very much is I'm building up my training, and I'm trying to do the most training just a few weeks before. And that was the plan, to arrive in the States, have the last training block on the course in the heat, get some altitude. But it was just 2 days after landing that I tested positive for COVID. So that's like never something that an athlete really wants to get at the best of times, let alone just before a big race. But it could have been worse. I mean, I could have got it a couple of days ago, but then to be honest, I probably wouldn't have raced. Right. So it happened at that magical time where you're kind of thrown into a bit of a disarray, and you don't really know how much time you should spend resting, how much time you should spend trying to get back to training. And then there was with COVID coming up to 2,000 meters above sea level, which for me is high. I live at sea level, and also it's quite hot that week as well. So you've suddenly got the post-COVID, the heat and the altitude, all these things you have to deal with, and then try and work out how much training you should be doing.
Mother Nature of all kinds was coming at you that week.
So it's been a balancing act, and it's certainly not been the easiest run into a race, but I've done the best with what I had, and I feel like I've got myself into at least a healthy state where I feel like it's not going to be dangerous for me to race, but it's not exactly the preparation I would have liked like to have had going into it.
Yeah.
But actual Transvolcania and the whole preparation to Transvolcania, that was really good. So I felt like I was in a really good place before coming to the States, which leaves me a bit disappointed with how I am now, but then it does show that there is form in there, and who knows on the day, and there's a lot of other pieces of the puzzle rather than just how fit you are. So let's just see if I can cobble together some of the other ones.
Yeah, so let's talk about this race for a minute. This race is something where there's all kinds of history to look back in terms of like what works for people, what doesn't work for people. You're a person who I like to think of as like a very intellectual type runner. Like
Nice. Thank you.
you can tell you're a study of pace and effort and
Support animals. This is just what I need.
That's amazing. This is not the first interview that we have had dogs with.
I think some of the best races I've had is when someone's bought a dog in the week before, and it always takes away the nerves and the anxiety, you know. Nothing like a good support animal to see you through.
So I think of you as like a racer who races as much with their mind as with their body. And this is a race that there is no short of information to be had of like what works and what doesn't work. You said earlier in the interview you've been thinking about what you can pull out of your bag of tricks for this race. What's going on in your head in terms of like, these are the things that I really need to focus on as my strengths or maybe my weaknesses?
Yeah, I think it's tough because normally all of that can come from experience, and I've not experienced this race before. And I think most people say you don't really have a good Western your first race. You have to experience it to then know how to train and how to prepare and what tactics to use going into it. But then there's a lot of information out there. I've done some research. Henrietta's done her research. We've tried to put together a solid nutrition plan, trying to get the electrolytes, making sure I'm going to be drinking enough, knowing like what I need and when, and having a few backup plans. But I think the main thing that I've realised I'm going to be needing is the best possible ice plan and cooling plan known to man. So the last 3 days has been just me stitching and stapling race vests that I can absolutely stuff with ice. Race ice bandanas, hats. I've been customising gear left, right and centre to try and make sure I can keep myself as cool as possible, because I'm not used to the heat. I can't operate as well in the heat as other people, so I'm going to need to maybe use some of my obstacle racing. I can carry some extra weight skills instead and just carry a couple of kilos of ice with me pretty much wherever I can on the course.
Well, Western States is always a pretty fantastic fashion show with people's innovations on how to stay cool, so looking forward to yours.
Now it's going to be interesting to see what works and what doesn't, and I've had some support from sponsors as well where they've tried to help out with some sort of new thoughts for gear and what we can do. Like I've got a really nice thin white top with some pockets sewn in, so I can throw ice in those, or get given ice bags, and then the race vest stuffed full of ice and with all my nutrition in the belt, so the race vest is just ice. Then I can dump that and grab another one at the next aid station. And there's a lot of aid stations on this course which I'm also not very used to, so it'll be interesting. We'll see how it goes. But obviously the best made plans normally always fail and you have to roll with the punches, and I'm just looking forward to getting into that second half when everything sucks and seeing if I've got what it takes on that day to grind it out. I don't like the beginnings of races when you're waiting to be tired. I just want everyone to have shown their cards, everyone to be destroyed, and then we find out who's got the heart to keep pushing through.
Who's going to grind the hardest and the best?
We shall see.
Let's talk about some of the guys you'll be grinding along the course with tomorrow.
Doesn't sound the best.
Let's talk about some of the guys who you'll be running with tomorrow. What's interesting for me is that we have the men's course record holder, Jim Walmsley, who's like a notorious front runner. And then we have Tyler Green, he's a 2-time second place finisher. We have this really nice dog who wants to join us again.
Getting the water, the water already.
Who's like a notorious, goes out kind of hard, but likes to sort of sit and watch and come through and take names in the second half of a race. Have you thought at all about how you plan to tackle these 100 miles, or who you might find yourself running with tomorrow?
I think it's definitely me v the course. And with CCC especially, I've never been able to start being a little bit of altitude and hold with the front runners. This is a little bit further than those races, so maybe everyone will go off a bit slower and I'll find myself comfortably at the front, but really I need to be comfortable at the beginning with the elevation, so I need to run my own race. And to be honest, I'm really happy that it seems to be a really deep field of guys, especially, I mean, obviously having Jim here is great because you want to measure yourself against the best person on the course, and it's going to be really interesting to see where everyone pans out, both for the men's race and the females race. So I think it should be a fun one to watch. I mean, I'm here to hopefully give Jim a race. That's what I want to do, and I'd be disappointed if I couldn't, but at least I know that if I can't, there's a few other people to give him a good race to.
Well, I think in that statement is also a bit of a hint on how you intend to race tomorrow.
Oh, for sure. Like I want to execute as well as I can, and that'll be the number one goal. And as long as I execute well and I learn a lot, I should be happy with coming anywhere in the top 10, to be honest, because it is a deep field. And yeah, I think it's just great that trail running, ultra trail running especially, is getting there, because I mean, in years gone by it might be that you could win by 25 minutes, half an hour, but I just don't think that'll be the case this year, and hopefully it makes for a great spectacle for everyone to watch.
Yeah, I personally am looking forward to a couple sprint finishes on the track tomorrow night from the men and the women.
I've only done one track session this week, which was actually this year, sorry, which was actually last week. I'm hopefully not going to be having a sprint finish on the track because I don't think I'm in the best of track shapes at the moment.
Jon Albon, best of luck to you on your first Western States Endurance run.
Thank you very much.